Welcome back to Marketing Connected. I'm your host, Karen Wong, and this is Women Who Lead, a series where we sit down and get personal with female leaders from the marketing, advertising, and communications industry across the region, in conjunction with International Women's Day 2026. We have in the studio with us today Lisa Leung, Vice President of Global Product and Marketing at Hong Kong-based dim sum brand Tim Ho Wan. Lisa has over 17 years of marketing, digital, loyalty, business growth experience in travel, loyalty, and F&B industries like Starbucks and Cathay Pacific. Before joining Tim Ho Wan, she had been with Starbucks APAC for 4 years, where she led multiple new innovations for Starbucks APAC markets. So without further ado, let's welcome Lisa. Pleasure having you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
So let's start from the very beginning. What was the first job you ever had, and even if it was a part-time role like a teenager?
Yeah, my first job was actually with a PR agency, Edelman. So I started off as an intern with Edelman. It was a very exciting job to me at that time. I tried something very new across multiple industries and brands, including electronic products, NGOs, water brands. I even had a touch on Starbucks, doing a bit of a fun PR event at the beach for an APAC client. So it was really eye-opening for me at that time because it was my first job and I got to try out different aspects of PR, ranging from editorial to events. So yeah, that was my first job. So my current role actually has a lot of relevancy or connections with my original internship back at Edelman. A lot of my previous experiences actually has led me to this current role. Has been a very fruitful journey in the past 17 years, learning everything from marketing to customer experience, digital product experience, and so forth. So my current role right now at Tim Ho Wan is actually a full-fledged marketing and product role, looking after all aspects of customer-facing components. So everything to do with the taste of the siu mai that you have at the store, all the way to the design of the store environment, as well as how we communicate our heritage, how we communicate our innovations to our customers.
Yeah, I think we've known each other for quite a while now, and I've been so impressed by your initiatives at different organizations like Starbucks and now at Tim Ho Wan, like with your booth, your pop-up at the PMQ the past weekend, and a lot of creative innovations. How do you think being a woman in these spaces give you a unique perspective in terms of leadership?
So I think it's interesting to lead as a female, and I actually had experience leading in a more male-dominated industry, which is my current role, versus in the past, for example, in Starbucks or even Cathay, it's a little bit more female-dominated. So I tend to take a very different approach based on the audience, not just in terms of the agenda, but also in terms of age groups and the role that I'm in. For example, leading in a digital environment is actually very different to leading a marketing team or leading in a product team. Versus like leading the chefs, where I have to work with them very closely, are completely different environment, a completely different setup. So I think it really depends on which kind of audience and the setting and the objectives for me at that particular time. I lead quite differently. But I think what stays true and what stays common across all the years is I truly believe in leading with authenticity, humility, and I think like what makes people click and what makes people want to work with you really is about collaboration. It's not so much about like commanding and controlling, but really respect them as individuals. So that remains true across everything that I do.
Yeah, so I think it's been quite a while since you onboarded Tim Ho Wan. What was that one project that came to mind that you think is the most impressive since you came on board?
I think, of course, I will talk about the more recent one, as in the rollout of the twin buns. I'm most excited and most happy about this initiative, not because we have partnered with pharma. Of course, that's a very exciting component as well. What got everybody very excited is actually about how we go back to our roots and how we innovate based on our roots. So that was actually the magic of what made Tim Ho Wan great, starting in 2009, and we actually all believed very strongly that we can make our pioneer products good again. And we created new flavors, going back to the original craftsmanship and come up with a completely new flavor. This is just a starting point. So to us, more to come. But this is one true great project that I see in product innovation. and how great it is to combine the efforts of product and marketing together to basically represent the brand. So it's actually not just a product campaign, it's a brand campaign, it's a marketing campaign. So I think this taught me a lot also about how important it is when different departments work together very closely and when different functions actually see great synergies, there will be magic coming out of it.
That's why you get a lot of fans over the world, like for the Tim Ho Wan brand. Myself is also a frequent consumer of your brand, and I love your signature siu mai, dim sums, BBQ pork bun, very delicious. And I agree with what you said earlier. It's not very easy to lead as a woman in a male-dominant brand. This year's International Women's Day, the theme centers on give to gain. So it focuses on support and reciprocity. So looking back, what is that one meaningful way you've invested in women, other women in your field?
So yeah, I've worked with a lot of women in the past, be it as my peers or individuals that are younger than me. I'm also actually a mentor of those that hasn't graduated.
Right.
So I think it always inspires me talking to women in different age groups as well as from different fields. I think what has remained true all these years is I like to give back a lot in terms of various ways. Just now you mentioned about reciprocal, right? So I think I always believe true partnerships is about give and take. So especially for women younger than me, I like to share a lot of views about how I lead or how I work or how what I see would be the key principles of success. So I think those stories are always quite interesting, especially for women younger than me. They find that I won't say it's educational, but it's personal, real stories that they can learn something from. Right. So I think it's being authentic to share a lot about my own journeys and experiences or even failures. The other areas that I think is super important is give credit. So that's what I also try to do a lot more in the past few years. I believe individuals going to work nowadays, it's not just about getting paid. It's not just about the package, not just about something to write on their CV. Actually, individuals do a lot better when they take ownership and when they see the projects as their own. So I think it's important to really recognize those moments that they have contributed a lot, give credit to everything that they do because it really motivates them to do a lot more. So it's beneficial for that individual, beneficial for me as their manager, and beneficial for the company. So it's highly important to give credit. The other area that I think it's super important is give encouragement. I think especially when you try to bring somebody up into wider aspects of job scopes or wider aspects of projects task force, it may be a bit scary for them at the very beginning because they're so new to that area, so new to that aspect. So encouragement is very important to ensure that they keep going in a direction that would lead them to success, and always be mindful of their personality, like what would trigger them, what are their red flags, how could we encourage them in a way that would actually lead them to success.
Yeah, I think it's really important in the marketing world today that women as ourselves need to stand up and come together to support the female empowerment and also gender equality because in a slightly conservative society like Hong Kong compared to other cities in the region, I think we as women have to come together and support each other as well in the workplace and also outside of our work. So as senior marketer yourself at Tim Ho Wan, how do you leverage Tim Ho Wan as a platform to actually empower the women inside and outside of your organizations?
I think it's actually a very good case study that a male-dominated brand like dim sum, and traditionally we have a lot of male chefs. It is very interesting that a female leader is now trying to shape the company and shape the brand forward. So I think my current role especially is a very good case study for female leaders and younger generations of actually, hey, look at us. Look at the team, right? Even a very male-dominated industry or company can have really a good platform for young or even middle-aged female to shine. It's actually beyond the dim sum space or the dining cuisine area, right? So this concept can actually apply to a lot of the other industries. So don't look at yourself as sort of a weaker gender. Anything is possible. I think It's a lot about the soft skills and how you understand about the world and how to work with others that will make you shine. So don't be scared of whatever industry that may be a bit more male dominated in the past.
Very inspirational. And you're leading the global team right now, and I believe it's a newly created team for the brand itself. So how do you actually promote the brand to the global stage with the voice of female and encourage the power of trust? Because trust is the anchor of any relationships or even within a male dominant industry, as you said.
I think that echoes a lot back to the brand DNA. I was actually just sharing with the markets about the new brand book and the brand philosophy like an hour ago. So there are a couple components that we really stay true and we really want to promote for the Tim Ho Wan brand. One is be genuine, be practical, and always be reliable. So these are really the beliefs of the brand because for us, what makes the brand great is actually quality dim sum from Hong Kong to the world. We want to share the real taste of Hong Kong to the world. So it's not about just always coming up with new innovation, but be able to keep the consistency of our products, of the brand, and bring it to multiple cities. So it actually resonates so strongly with myself and with the brand. And we wanted to ensure that with our newly structured way of governing the kitchen, governing the SOPs, we want to really make sure we bring this to the world, not just in Asia Pacific, but all the way to the US.
And that also resonates with how you give to gain, this year's IWD suggests. And so what would be that one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self in terms of female empowerment?
I think
at the start of your career.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think I definitely have changed a lot over the years. Looking back, like the past 10 years, past 15 years, I wasn't really quite the Lisa I am today. So I think I've learned a lot, I think especially in terms of humility and vulnerability. I think those are the really core human fundamentals that leaders should have. And I would definitely suggest all younger generation, younger female leaders to be vulnerable, be yourself, and embrace failures and share your personal experiences with yourself, your peers, your junior staff. I think it's really being human that would bond individuals together. And as a leader, it is very, very important to build that trust because when the individuals know you as a person, it's way easier for you to bond and way easier for you to give encouragement, give credits, and all the rest of it would come. So I think it's the humility part and being vulnerable.
Some junior leaders once told me that they have been very scared to speak to their managers, like when their managers are male and the whole office is male dominated, and they're very scared to voice their opinions. How would you come across that, like as a female or when you're a junior staff in a company?
I think I was always described as the wild Lisa, so I didn't have that problem in particular. So I always voice out whatever I think. Maybe it's a good or a bad thing, depending on the context. So I myself, I didn't have much of that problem because I just speak out. I think based on my education background, based on where my parents taught me right in the past, I just voice out whatever I feel it's right. But I think I do spot that from a lot of younger generations. Sometimes it could be a bit intimidating to speak up to their boss or even to their peers. So I think it depends on the character, the personality as well. So I think for me as a leader, how I can encourage my team to come speak to me, I think it's going back to the earlier point on humility and being vulnerable. I think sometimes if you step down and establish more a friendship with your team first before becoming a boss, I think they will be willing to speak to you more and reflect their real true self and their worries. So I think that is super important because without understanding their underlying problems or what they're really thinking, it's hard to help them. And it's hard to help them to then help you to grow the projects, right? So my strategy or my way of getting around things is usually really I don't like to be the boss. I like to be their friend. Let's talk about things. Let's talk about what you like to do. Let's go out and eat lunch, grab coffee. I will share my failures with you as well, while you share your failures and your scary moments with me. So I think I think especially for Gen Z and younger generations nowadays, that's the way to go for managing them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a one-on-one coffee chat, it definitely sounds good. So do you often do that with your teammates, like Gen Z or Gen Alpha?
Yeah, I try to do that as much as I
Mm.
could. I think it also depends on the individual and the scenario of whether or not there are specific areas that they need coaching, whether or not they actually like to bond with the direct manager, or do they just like to hang out and grab a drink at a bar. So
Right.
I tend to tailor a bit on based on their personality and what they like to do with me as well.
Mm.
Some of them would like to, hey, let's talk about work because I think work is most important for them.
Yeah.
So I think I don't have one policy that fits
Mm.
all. I like to make sure that they feel comfortable with the whatever way that we interact.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love that. Finally, for the women in our audience who are building their careers and may aspire to lead globally, what's one actionable step they can take today and start cultivating the confidence and vision needed for executive leadership?
I would say there are actually multiple things, maybe more than one. Especially for female, it's important to have the courage and have the perseverance. I think especially for women, like don't be afraid to make mistakes. Usually those who succeed isn't because they are more intelligent or isn't because they're more talented. It's because they are not afraid to fail. They fail 7 times, they stand up to eight, right? So I think let's not be too worried about making mistakes. Make mistakes, learn fast, and then you will succeed fast. I think the other thing is really have confidence to speak out because you are not weaker than men, right? Whatever man can do, you can probably also do.
Yeah.
So I think this is highly important that they understand that it's gender equal, right? Everywhere you go, have the confidence to speak up and let people know what you think. Don't be scared to fail.
Yeah, I think that also applies to some junior people or female leaders who wish to venture into a new space or industry or even start their own business, right? So I think it's very important that we understand where we stand and also our value in the society. So on that note, thank you again for being a part of this episode of Women Who Lead, Lisa. And to the listeners out there, fear not, although this interview with Lisa Leung from Tim Ho Wan is over, we've got loads of other episodes you can catch on our Marketing Connected channel and YouTube. Be sure to follow us on Marketing Interactive social media pages on Telegram, Instagram, and LinkedIn to get alerts on new podcast episodes. Once again, thank you for tuning in to Marketing Connected, brought to you by Marketing Interactive. Goodbye.
Goodbye.